saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
Also, spoilers. That's 5 spoilers. Don't continue watching this. Don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, there's probably going to be spoilers in this. I don't know. Video log?
Just
Video vlog?
video, I guess. I don't know.
It's a supplement to our podcast because we like to go out and see movies and then we immediately like to rant about it afterwards. So that's kind of why we're doing this YouTube part of it. This is just a supplement to a regular podcast. So we'll see how this goes.
This was actually supposed to be our second review. Our first one was supposed to be X-Men, which we're actually going to do after this one because we got distracted last week.
Yeah,
So we're already bad at this internet thing. Anyway.
But as you're going along, comment and give us a thumbs up, thumbs down if you like it. We should change things. So this is kind of a trial run, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's already bad. So we're good.
We're setting your standards low.
Very low, so we're good. Anyway, to the movie. Overall, what did you think? That says everything.
Michael Bay needs to stop ruining my childhood.
I think Michael Bay didn't have a childhood, so he could take away everyone else's childhood. I'm pretty sure that's how that goes, because his dad did not. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know. Alright, now that being said, this was obviously a kid's movie. This was a movie made for kids, and you know that going into it. That being said, I was still so disappointed. I was still really disappointed, even going in knowing it was a kid's movie. And I don't know why, because I didn't even like the first one. I don't know why the second one disappointed me as much as it did.
Well, the problem is that people who are our age are going to go see it for the nostalgia of what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was in the 1980s and 90s with comics and the old cartoons. And this is not those turtles. I mean, they kind of half got the characters down. They kind of half understand what they're doing with these characters, and the other half is just absolutely not what it used to be at all.
I feel like they toned down a lot of the things that were annoying the first time in the first movie, like with the turtles, and Megan Fox definitely wasn't as bad as she was in the first one.
Michael Bay, why do you keep using Megan Fox? She constantly sounds like she's reading off a fucking card. She's a terrible actor. That's such a hard on for her, and I don't understand it. She's terrible. She's just awful, and she hasn't even looked that good since what movie was it? Jennifer's Body? Was that the name of the like semi-horror kind of movie that was also pretty fucking bad?
Yeah, feel very strong about Megan Fox.
She's terrible. Why do they keep using her? She's terrible.
Because she looks pretty on camera.
No, she doesn't.
Okay, that being said, maybe she just hasn't found the movie that she's going to be good in yet because they don't give her real parts.
Because it doesn't exist.
Well, they keep giving her parts where she's like, look at my boobs, and that's all they do for her. And then she's useless for the rest of the movie. So, I don't know if it's entirely her fault. That being said, she was in Transformers, also wasn't good. But again, that movie was, look at my boobs. And, well, boobs are great. I like them. Look at mine. They're fantastic. I think they need to stop forcing her into that role because she doesn't give anything to the movie. I was on a whole other thing before you interrupted me about Megan Fox.
Yeah, I got mad about that.
But so the characters, I feel like some of the annoying tendencies definitely got downplayed. They weren't as, I don't know what to say about the first one. I don't really remember it too much, but they were very kids from the streets, like very urban kids from the streets, which they didn't. I mean, they were kids from the streets in the originals and in the TV show, but they were more kid friendly. And this is the first one I felt was very much more. You're looking at like the tween, look at my pants are down really low kind of thing. They were like rappy, I guess I would say. I don't know.
They're trying to go for an urban twist, I guess, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't see it. I mean, I don't really know what to say about it because it's like they picked out the personality traits of them pretty well, but I think they took too much to an extreme.
They over-exaggerated some of the personality traits of the turtle, definitely.
Leonardo keeps agonizing about how to be a good leader and that he's not a good leader and that his team instructors aren't listening. And it really played up Raphael's anger just about everything.
I feel like the entire time he was just breathing heavily and just angry all the time for no reason.
Yeah.
There were some parts where he should have been angry, and I think they did that well
was
he
intense,
angry,
but he wasn't.
but he wasn't angry all the time, always. And I feel like that's really what they played him on as. And they made Donatello. I mean, he was a techno nerd, which is fine. That's what he always is. But that was all he was.
They always. I mean, the Turtles always were a little one-dimensional.
Well, they're a kid show. They're not trying to get you too much into it, but yeah.
But it's like they took it just a little too extreme. Like I think if they scaled it back a step or two, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
The dynamic between them worked very well, I thought. It's just the personalities were too extreme.
I didn't feel like they really connected well with each other either, which was. I felt like Michelangelo was the best part of that entire movie. He was the only one I felt I connected with, and who connected with all the other ones too. Which I guess he always kind of was that, but still, I think they did Shredder well.
Oh, Shredder was spot on. Spot on.
That being said, they used him for like 5 minutes.
He was
like 5 minutes.
Severely under.
Which they did in the first movie too. You got to see him like the last 5 minutes, and then he went into a big armored robot suit, and then he was just done. And that was all you got of Shredder.
Bebop and Rocksteady were done very well. I think they were done very true to their characters from the old cartoons. Because they were kind of goofy, and they're big, and they're burly, and they're really just the dumb muscle.
They definitely upplayed the dumb part.
But they had a good interaction with each other.
They did. And so, it was, as annoying as they were, it was definitely true to those characters.
Yeah, that part was
definitely how they were.
That part was very true to the cartoons.
Yeah.
The two characters, though, that I think were completely off the mark, just not even in the same ballpark of what they were meant to, was Casey Jones and Craig.
I never really watched the cartoons growing up. So what I remember most about the Turtles is movies, the movies from the 80s and 90s that were out there. And you're still a big Turtles fan. You still read the comics today. And so I don't remember Casey Jones a lot. What I remember, and the only thing I remember about him is from that first movie where Shredder falls into the garbage truck and he just like whistles and like slowly crushes into the garbage truck. And I felt like that portrayal from that one scene really showed you who Casey Jones was, and I didn't get like there was a defining scene for him in the story.
Well, here's the thing. Casey Jones is a kid from the streets. He's a vigilante, and he's trying. What his thing is that he's just trying to keep the bad blood off of the streets. He's trying to keep his neighborhood safe. In this movie, they made him a New York City corrections officer that wants to be a detective, and he just has this mask and hockey sticks in his trunk, which, okay, he plays hockey fine. But he just is like, oh, I'm just going to police officer taking his mask. Like, that's not what Casey Jones is at all. And Stephen Amell, just go back to the whiny arrow. Just stop, because I'm sorry, it didn't work at all.
I think he had some great one-liners in it, and the parts where he was kicking ass were great scenes, but I don't really feel like he contributed much to the story. The scene where he met the Turtles was funny, but if you took his character out, I don't think he would have lost anything in the movie. Which is sad, because Casey Jones was a big part of it. And
they made him goofy.
They did make him really goofy.
And
which is fine, it's a kid's movie. Some of it's gonna be goofy, and I'm trying not to tear it apart too much because it is for kids, but
when you go back and you see the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, that was also for kids, because that was at the height of the original cartoon popularity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, they made that for kids, but it still had that little bit of dark grayness, and it just wasn't goofy for being goofy's sake.
True. There was a lot of lighthearted aspects to the original, and that offset the tone of the things that were dark coming through. I mean, these are teenagers fighting another group of teenagers who are trying to take over the city from an evil, basically cult master. So there's a lot of dark stuff going on in the original, even in the cartoons, kind of, to an extent. And bless you. But in this one, I just felt it was just over the top insanity movie rather than trying to offset it. And I think they did that because the first one was so ill received, but it went the wrong way with it, I think.
The first one was ill received because the story was garbage. I mean, it was like the whole movie was like people were like, oh, I'm trying to be a reporter, and everyone else around her is like, oh, let me try and get her hands. Like that was like the
what is turtle formation? That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't even rhyme with squirrel. How do you get those two mixed up, Michelangelo?
The other thing,
That was
though,
weird.
the other thing though is that they could be based off of the current cartoons that are running. And I haven't. Yeah, they're current cartoons. I haven't.
All
watched
the current cartoons are terrible.
I haven't watched any of them, so I can't say if they're terrible.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying they rebooted both.
And maybe the problem is that we are trying to base them off of turtles from our generation. We're going back to the 80s and 90s nostalgia.
Okay.
If you're going to see this movie because of the 80s and 90s nostalgia, you're gonna have a bad time.
Okay.
I want to go back to Craig.
Okay, go back to Craig. You had a lot of stuff to say about
I
Craig.
have a lot of stuff to say about Craig. One more thing about Casey Jones, too. They created this hockey mask to look like a really fucked up kind of Punisher looking thing.
It did look weird for a hockey
Yeah.
mask. I thought it was very.
It didn't look like the old
characterized.
school goalie mask. It looked more like
Because
skull and crossbones.
This was supposed to be a goalie mask. It wasn't just a painted goalie mask.
Pretty much. I mean, it was
This
all
was
white, but
silver and no mouthpiece.
it was really drawn out.
It was very
It was really
characterized,
long.
which was interesting if you're part of a school play. But for actual hockey, if he actually plays hockey with that mask, I don't know.
And the whole character design for Craig is bad. I mean,
I have to disagree with you a little bit because I feel like the overall look of just Crank, just the little brain bit, the look of him was fine. It did look to me like what I remember Crank looking like. That being said, he was very moist and trippy, and
they made him sound like a cartoon cat. He was very like that kind of voice, and it's just like he sounded like a buffoon, and he's not. He's a hyper intelligent being. He's a fucking brain.
yeah.
He's a hyper intelligent being, and you think he'd put a head on the robot? The robot doesn't have a head, it's like a jaw.
You would think for someone who's very intelligent and created a robot suit of armor, he would make the suit of armor big enough for himself to fit it without getting punched in the face by his robot 14 times.
Which we're
he
used
did.
to. We're used to in the cartoons and in all the comics. He fit really nicely in that little compartment. But in this movie, for some reason, they decided to just make him too big, so the robot's gonna pound on him and stuff him in there. Half the time, he's not even in the robot. He's chilling on the shoulder, almost like a Rodney and Groot kind of deal.
Which just make a chair to
doesn't
sit.
make any sense at all.
Which if that's the point, why not just make a little chair on the top for your head to go?
Yeah.
If that's where you're gonna sit most of the time, or whatever. I just think, obviously it was done for comedic effect, but it was obviously done for comedic effect, so it doesn't work. At least for adults who are watching. Kids are probably gonna laugh, of course. If I took my nephews to see this movie, they would probably enjoy the crap out of it. Adults are gonna have a good time.
Again, we're going off of this nostalgia.
Not even going
At least
off.
I am.
Okay, not even going off the nostalgia. If you look at the movie just as this one movie, without even looking at the first movie, a lot of the characters, for adults, if you're going with your kids because the kids aren't going to go see it by themselves, there's not really anything given to the adults to enjoy. The characters don't pull you in. I didn't feel connected to anyone really except Michelangelo. I hate that other guy. What's his name? The Falcon. He was irritating in the first movie. They gave him too much time in this movie, and I hated it. He was so annoying the entire time. I don't see how adults would like it. Some of the interplay between the turtles was great, but then you get sucked into this point where the bad guys are just stupid for no reason. Shredder betrays the scientist gentleman who's with him, whose name I don't know.
Oh, Baxter Stockman, I forgot about him.
We'll get to that in a second. He betrays them, right at the end when they're about to do something. Bad guys, you're taking over the world. Don't betray the scientists that are helping you every step of the way. Don't piss them off. They're gonna help you out. They just want to be part of it. That being said, that guy was the epitome of a characterized definition of what a nerd is. This gentleman who has 15 PhDs, they said, he has 150 patents, but he loses his mind over a girl with nice breasts who's talking to him, and can't get over the fact that he's part of a team. What is that?
Well, here's the thing with that. If he's the typical nerd, some girl comes up to him in the middle of a bus station. Yeah, he's gonna get
40 years old. There's no way he's just gonna forget everything about himself and all his accomplishments because Neil deGrasse Tyson is not going to forget who he is because some girl with nice.
Forget who he was. He just thought that a girl
you make him so unaccomplished?
Well, here's
In an interpersonal aspect.
here's the thing with that. I think you're exaggerating the battling part when April comes up to the bus station or the train station, whatever the hell it is.
Well, I don't think I am.
I think you're
I don't
exaggerating.
think I am.
It wasn't as battling as you said it was. First of all. Second of all, yes, he does get a little giddy when Shredder includes him in his plan, in his plans and calls him part of his team or whatever. That's been part of his character prior to, those of us who know his character, prior to his
I can see that
transformation
you know
from
more.
being a mutant to a fly.
I can see you know more about him than I do, but just taking it basically on just this movie, not nostalgia. His character basically for that. And then why would Shredder just betray him? I disagree. It's fine, he married this. Make it out of it now. I don't get why he would just suddenly be like, well, you're beat. You're out of the team. We're gonna just send you off to Tokyo or Japan or whatever. Why? He would do anything for you, Shredder.
Okay, here's the thing.
Throw him a little bit of a bone, and he's just gonna be your lapdog forever. All he
Here's the
wants is
thing.
some recognition. I don't understand. If I'm a criminal genius, I do not betray my scientist.
Here's the thing with Baxter Stein. He gets a little giddy when Shredder praises him, and that's part of his character. At least now it is in the comic books. If anyone's reading the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic books from IDW, that's kind of how he is. He kind of bows down to Shredder. I think it's partly because Shredder's kind of giving him what he wants, and he's a little bit intimidated. But who wouldn't be? Because Shredder's kind of intimidated.
Well, that part I don't mind. I get that part. He's part of something bigger than himself. He's advancing technology. He's excited about it. He wants to be part of Shredder's thing. I get that.
Outside of that context, yes, he does battle. He sounds like a buffoon. Not as much when April talks to him. I think you're playing that up.
I don't think I am because he just
I'm gonna make you watch the movie.
no. But okay, maybe I'm not explaining it correctly with that. I'm not saying that he battles, but she goes up to him and she goes into this whole conversation about how, oh, I'm not really a nerd, out of the geek or whatever she says, and then they talk about Comic-Con. Like, that to me makes no sense. Not that he might not like Comic-Con. Why would that?
You know what I think? You know why I think it doesn't make sense? Because you're not a guy. I think that's why it doesn't make sense to you. You're looking at it from a woman's perspective. You're looking at it from a woman's point of view. You're not looking at it from a guy's point of view. That's why it doesn't make sense.
Okay, I'm not as hot and slowly dressed as April O'Neil was in this. I have never once had a guy completely go giddy because I have to talk to him about the theme. I've never once had that.
Well, you haven't met somebody with the, prestige and accomplishment of something like that.
Okay, when I meet Neil deGrasse Tyson, I'll talk to him about Comic-Con. We'll see how that goes. Okay.
I think we
His character. Out of that particular character. Do you want to talk more about that?
No, I'm ready.
Okay. Grand Jeff Crank. What did you think of his Death Star machine?
The Technodrome, it was really cool watching the Technodrome.
That was pretty awesome.
That was pretty sweet. It was more of a Death Star than a tank like we were used to in the old TV and the old cartoons.
It kind of makes more sense in this universe, though, for it to be something like that.
I don't know if it makes more sense or not, but I think either way, whether it makes more sense or not, I think it was a nice touch the way it was done.
I think it was.
Kind of weird that it was just kind of suspended in midair, though. Really not much of an explanation for that. But, I mean, again, you kind of forgive some of the plot of some of this stuff because it is more geared towards us. You grew up in the 80s and the 90s.
See, even that part, though, I feel like it didn't necessarily have to be for kids. I had no problem with it being suspended in the air because I felt it was sort of a hovering death machine. If it's from another universe, it doesn't really need an explanation for why it can float. It's a giant machine that just came through dimensionally. I have no problem with that part. That being said, that fight with Krang, and then at the end, it was very quick. It was very reminiscent of
feel, well, we're kind of moody. Donatella's got like that stereotypical high school EV nerd kind of feel going for him. But outside of that, they do feel a little more mature than I guess would be typical.
Yeah. Well, I feel like they don't really need a lot of guidance or leadership. Splinter doesn't really seem to be necessary to them at this point. They go to him for advice, I think, twice in the entire movie. And other than that, they're just kind of on their own. I feel like at this point, they've reached the part where they're just living in their parents' basement because they're waiting for money to get their own place. Because there were teenagers in the original. They were being guided by Splinter. They were being shown how to become men and what to do because they're girls and they're sequestered off by themselves. But in this one, I feel like they really. I never felt that they actually needed him. So he's just kind of there.
I think his voice acting was very well because you were used to him sounding like an older man, and I didn't think that.
I felt like he was younger than he was old.
Yeah. It didn't feel right.
So now that we've said every single piece that we found wrong with this, what did you like about it? We said a little bit of it too, but I mean overall, what did you like? What was good about it?
It's Second Round was pretty sweet.
Second round. Alright, that was good.
It's Second
That was
Round.
good. Yeah.
Overall, like, it's probably a fun movie for the kids. I was kind of bored.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go see it, if you're at least our age, which is between 20 and 30 years old, you're probably not gonna get very much out of it. If you go with kids, they're probably gonna have a great time. You might have a great time too. Maybe everyone likes it. Maybe we're completely wrong. We're just too old to enjoy it. We're just old curmudgeons who don't like movies anymore. Maybe that's it. But I don't know. I just felt like the movie never grabbed my attention. It never pulled me into it.
It doesn't have any of the memorable moments or lines that we're used to from the old. Maybe it's just the role. I have no idea, but there really wasn't anything. There was no hook. There was no catch.
In a week, I'm gonna forget this movie. It's exactly what it's movie. I'm gonna forget this movie just like I forgot the last one. And I'm not angry about it. I'm just disappointed. It was still a nice night out. We still had a good time, but we had a good time because we were just playing. That's really why we had a good time.
It's a real big difference in the generations too. In my generation, turtles, they were in sewers, they were lurking around in the dark. They turned the lights out before they punched somebody's time clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this one, they're like flying off of buildings and flying off of airplanes.
Which how
in
did they
broad daylight, and they're like, "Oh my God, how do we take these bad guys out of this building that we clearly sneak around in? Oh no, let's not worry about trying to cut the power or anything so that everybody fucking sees us."
Which, speaking of them jumping off the
They're
building,
not very ninja.
how did they get up there? Way to keep a low profile, turtle? Because they're like skateboarding and sliding off of and onto and across the windows of high rises the entire opening act of the movie.
They really
Someone's gonna take a picture of that. We all have smartphones.
They really kind of dropped the whole ninja ball. There's absolutely nothing ninja about how they act.
No.
I mean, they barely even use their signature weapons that much.
Like there's a couple times where they're in their lair. Anyway, they're in their lair and they're practicing, but that's about it. They did have their van.
Oh, that was cool. That was cool.
They had their van.
I like the garbage truck. That was
Yeah.
cool.
I thought that wasn't forced in.
And the Foot
So I
Clan.
thought that was great.
Foot Clan looked pretty badass.
The Foot Clan was fantastic. Again, though, not teenagers. You never once
The
see
Foot
them
Clan,
as teenagers.
I don't know if they really were meant to be teenagers.
Well, I mean, in the first movie, again, I don't remember the cartoon.
In the first movie, they were teenagers because Shredder. That's how that storyline was. Shredder was just gathering a bunch of wayward kids.
Yeah.
That's really how it played out. But they didn't necessarily have to be teenagers, so I was okay with them not.
Yeah, I guess it's fine. But you don't really see them either with Shredder. He's never with them. He's like maybe got one or two with him as bodyguards every once in a while, but he's never addressing them as a group or sending them on a mission or anything. They just kind of appear out of the shadows.
He doesn't really have to. He doesn't really have to do it because it's kind way that Shredder operates. Like, he doesn't have to directly address the underlings because of he's got generals, he's got sergeants.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I just think it would have been nice for just once when he breaks out to be like, I am good, like kind of I don't know, addressing the thing. And again, it's because I remember it from the movies, the very first movie where he addresses all of them. Part of my fault now. Go kill some turtles for me.
I think they already knew.
Well, these ones are adults, so they're probably just like, well, yeah, I broke out of prison and I have nothing better to do in my life. So let's go kill some mutant turtles that this crazy guy says are around, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. So,
I think that pretty much sums up everything.
yeah, I think so.
So, overall, what you review?
I think 1 out of 10 turtles, I give it a 2. 2 turtles.
10?
1 out of 10. Well, we're doing the 10 on the podcast.
Are we?
Yeah. 1 out of 5, I still gave it a 2. So, 2 turtles. You're allowed to have a different opinion.
Because it is a lot of fun for the kids, and I think if you go into it not with the nostalgia that I have, I think you probably enjoy it more. But I can't get around.
And again, we ripped this thing apart, even though we said we were going to try not to rip it apart. We're probably completely wrong. All you people probably are